In and amongst all of the comments towards Vegas since the loss in the Stanley Cup Finals to the Washington Capitals, what gets lost in all of this is the fact that they're a pretty darn good team and they should get better. Yeah, let's talk about why. Under contract for next year, Tatar 5.3 million for the next 3 years. Clarkson has 2 more years on that $5.25 million Albatross contract that got traded to them. And before you go hot, they got the Clarkson contract. Yeah, that's how they got Carlson as well. So it worked out pretty well for them. Riley Smith has a bunch of years left at $5 million. Marchessault, a bunch of years left at $5 million, and that's money well spent. Cody Eakin, $3.85 million for 2 more years. Eric Howla, $2.75 million for 2 more years. Lindbergh has 1 more year left at 1.7. Belmar, 1 more year left at 1.45. Alex Tuck, $925K, and then after this coming season, next summer he's a restricted free agent. And Ryan Carpenter, $625K for 1 more year, and then he's a UFA. James Neal's a UFA. Carlson's a restricted free agent with arbitration rights. Grabowski, Vegas fans saying who? Exactly, he's gone. They just got his contract from the Islanders. Perron, UFA. Reeves, UFA. Noshek is a restricted free agent with arbitration rights, as is Carrier. Just dropped the arbitration rights for Carrier. He doesn't have them. On the blue line, Braden McNabb, $2.5 million. No relation to Brandon McNabb. Thanks, Pat Sajak. 2022 is when he expires. Nate Schmidt has 1 more year left at $2.25 million, which is a large bargain. Derek England, $1.5 million for 1 more year. John Merrill, $1.375 million for 2 more years. Brad Hunt has 1 year left at $650K. Spiza's UFA, Stoner's UFA, Miller's a restricted free agent with arbitration rights. Theodore's a restricted free agent. And then in net, Marc-Andre Fleury's got 1 more year left at $5.75 million before he's an unrestricted free agent. He's already said he wants to finish his career as a Vegas Golden Knight. Watch for him to get an extension in July. Malcolm Subban, $650K, and then he's a restricted free agent with arbitration rights. So, is it the end of the world? So I'm going to go ahead and put asterisks next to bigger name players that you might have a hard time replacing, and yet it's not the end of the world. James Neal, I think, re-signs in Vegas. I think he's had kind of a resurgence to his career there, and I don't see him going anywhere. And I see Neal probably getting around $6 million. Carlson, for what he's done this year, it's tricky. And I was going to do a video just on William Karlsson, because here's the thing. He had a 43-goal season. He's one of the top 5 players in the league for goals. If they pay him that way, I think it's a mistake. I think he's going to settle in and be a 30, 35 goal scorer. And I think if they're paying him like he's a megastar, so like the $10 million, $9 million a year deal kind of thing, I think they'll regret that later. Perron, I think, is probably gone. I think David Perron, while he had a solid season, in the playoffs it showed that they could win without him. And he didn't have to be a key player for them to win. I didn't put an asterisk next to Reeves because Ryan Reeves, either he'll stay for a small amount or he'll leave, but it's not going to break their cap. Notice they've got $31.4 million in cap space if the cap's at $80 million. All the other videos have gone with $80 million. I've heard 78. I've heard 82. $80 million is where I'll stand. Colin Miller, restricted free agent with arbitration rights. He'll get a raise, but I don't know how much. I would think maybe 4.5 a year. You don't want to give these guys crazy amounts, but because of the fact this team went to a Stanley Cup final, you may end up paying guys crazy amounts based on the season they had that was unexpected and the run they had in the playoffs. And the smart GMs are the ones that don't overpay. When you look at their prospect pool, Brandstrom, Glass, and Suzuki, all first-rounders from last year. That's why this year's first-rounder was ditched for Tomas Tatar. And Tatar, regardless of what he did or didn't do, it's a number 30 draft pick. So it actually worked out pretty well for Vegas. Haig is another one that we may see play for them at some point next year. Reed Duke, I got asked a lot about before the season, and when I was doing season previews, they're like, wait a minute, Reed Duke was their first player ever. Why aren't you talking about him in the previews? He played 14 games in the regular season for the Chicago Wolves, and he had 0 points. Played 2 playoff games for them, had 0 points. That's why I didn't talk about him. Every team has that first player signed, and very rarely are they a big deal. So Reed Duke is on the board here because it's a curiosity more than anything else. In the minors, Legacy is a UFA this summer. He gave them some solid performances and some iffy performances when he was called upon. I don't think Vegas keeps him. I think they'll let Dylan Ferguson graduate and play a little bit. I don't have Ferguson on the list, but Ferguson had statistically his numbers dropped this year, which kind of surprised me because he had a run with Vegas where he didn't play very much, but he's on the NHL team and he's practicing, and we'll see how that affects his development. Oscar Dansk is a restricted free agent with arbitration rights, and I think one question that may confront George McPhee this summer is Dansk a better option than Subban? Is Subban the better option than Dansk? I'm not sure how it's going to work. I wouldn't think that Dansk would be waiver exempt next year. I would think he's far enough out from his draft year that I think he would have to clear waivers if he goes down. I'm not sure on that. But if he'd have to clear waivers, he might get moved. Philip Holm, restricted free agent with arbitration rights this summer. I didn't mind him for Vancouver in the preseason. He didn't break the lineup for Vancouver. He was acquired in a trade from Vancouver for Brandon Leipzig. And I'll be interested to see if they keep him around with Spiza going as UFA and needing to bring somebody who's cheap in to possibly replace him. And Brandon Peary's UFA. Peary barely played for Vegas, but of course he scored goals when he got there for Vegas reasons. Vegas is in an excellent position. If you look at it, let's say $10 million for Karlsson. Let's just go crazy. $10 million for Karlsson, $5 million for Neal, $6 million for Neal, $16 million. They would still have $15 million in cap space with only Miller, and I think they let Perron go. And the reason I bring this up is because, when people talk about big name free agents, I really think Vegas is going to be in the market this summer. I think George McPhee, we all talk about him with the Martin Erat deal, and fine. But he is a good GM. And he's played this really, really well the whole way along. And I would expect Vegas to add this summer. I would expect a big name, something flashy on the first, or around there. And there are rumors about Erik Karlsson possibly coming in. I could see Vegas making a deal with Ottawa to bring in Erik Karlsson. You add Erik Karlsson to this blue line. I don't like it for the West. I don't like the West's chances if you add Erik Karlsson to this team, and if this team can have anywhere near repeating the performances of this current season, which just passed 2 days ago. And really, honestly, if they can get these guys signed for reasonable deals, if they could do that, and I want to be clear on this, they could add both Tavares and Karlsson. What's going to make Vegas an attractive option is, well, it's Vegas first off. Secondly, the team had incredible success. Free agents like to go to teams that have had a lot of success. In Erik Karlsson's case, he's not a free agent, but it's been pretty clear that his time in Ottawa has been kind of miserable lately. And Vegas would be an attractive option for a lot of players. I really think they're going to be a popular destination for free agents. And that guys will sign for less if they know that it's going to be the environment they're playing in. And then you add on top of that the success of the team. You have Gerard Gallant as coach. Gerard Gallant's had an incredible run. There is a Gerard Gallant video to be made, and it will get made. Yeah, I really think this is a more solid team than any of us gave them credit for before the season started. And I think they're going to be more solid going forward than a lot of people think. They're definitely a playoff team next year. I can't see them falling out of the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if they fall out of first in the division, only because it's a tougher division than people give it credit for. The Pacific has got some pretty darn good teams in it. Anaheim, San Jose, basically California. And then Edmonton will bounce back. I can't see Calgary being that bad again down the stretch. I think Calgary will bounce. I think there's going to be a lot of competition. And Arizona and Vancouver eventually, once those kids get in and start playing well, they'll both start coming up. So today's fantastic division is tomorrow's iffy division and vice versa. But Vegas is in a good spot going forward, and with all that cap space, and they've got some big names signed for relatively long terms. I like their chances. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happen upon this video while you're cruising around the internet. And again, I understand Vegas is the most controversial topic in hockey, it seems. But I still think they've got an excellent chance. But let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon.